Is that any better at all?
I can hear you clearly.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
We cannot hear the harmonium at all, or you chanting at all.
That's probably good. Is it all breaking up like it usually does?
Yeah, the harmonium is completely not audible.
Right. Interesting. That's probably good.
Zoom
Yeah.
is set to automatically cancel out any sound other than human voice. So, basically the mic cuts out if you're playing a harmonium or any instrument. Any ambient sound will cut the mic.
I
So
see. That's
the
good
only
to
way
know.
to get the sound of instruments is that you have to change the setting in Zoom.
Oh, that sounds complicated. So, thank you. I was always wondering why it sounds so terrible when everyone sings. It's like, so I'll finish the Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 So reading today is from Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th Canto, Chapter 9. Chapter is Prahlad pacifies the Lord Nrsimhadev with prayers. Text 27. Written, translated, and purport by Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada. Ki Jai. Naisa Paravara Matir Bhavatuna Nusyaj. I think I'll just go through the lines myself, unless you want to respond back. Janturya Tatma Surido Jagatastatapi Samsevaya Suratoro Evate Prasada Seva Nurupam Udayana Parvaratam. Anybody want to sing it?
Naisha Paravara Matir Bhavato Nanusyaj Jantor Yatatma Suhrido Jagatastatapi Samseva Surator, excuse me, Samsevaya Suratoror Ivate Prasadaha Sevanurupam Murai Sevanurupam Udayot Naparavatatvam.
Anybody else? Oh. Okay. So I'll do the word for word real quick. Na, not, Aisha, this, para, avara, of higher or lower, mati, such discrimination, bhavata, of your lordships, nanu, indeed, shat, there can be, janata, of ordinary living entities, janato, excuse me, yata, as, atma sur daha, of one who is the friend, jagata, of the whole material world, tatapi, but still, there is such a demonstration of intimacy or difference. Some sevaya, according to the degree of service rendered by the devotee. Surataro eva, like that of the desire tree in Vaikuntha Loka, which offers fruits according to the desire of the devotee. Te, your. Prasada, benediction or blessing. Seva anu rupam, according to the category of service one renders to the Lord. Udhaya, manifestation, not pada avaratam, discrimination due to higher or lower levels. Translation by Srila Prabhupada, Jagat Guru Ki Jai. Unlike an ordinary living entity, my Lord, you do not discriminate between friends and enemies, the favorable and the unfavorable, because for you, there's no conception of higher or lower. Nonetheless, you offer your benedictions according to the level of one's service, exactly as a desire tree delivers fruits according to one's desire and makes no distinction between the lower and the higher. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In the Bhagavad Gita 4:11, the Lord clearly says, Ye yata mam prapajante tam tataiva bhajamyaham. As one surrenders to me, I reward him accordingly. As stated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Jivera Svarupahaya, Krishna Nityadas. Every living being is an eternal servant of Krishna. According to the service the living entity renders, he automatically receives benedictions from Krishna, who does not make distinctions, thinking, here is a person in an intimate relationship with me, and here is a person I dislike. Krishna advises everyone to surrender to him. Sarvam dharman prityaja mamikam saranam rajaha. One's relationship with the Supreme Lord is in proportion to that surrender and the service one renders unto the Lord. Thus, throughout the entire world, the higher or lower positions of the living entities are selected by the living entities themselves. If one is inclined to dictate that the Lord grants something, one receives benedictions according to his desire. If one wants to be elevated to the higher planetary systems, the heavenly planets, he can be promoted to the place he desires. And if one wants to remain a hog or a pig on earth, the Lord fulfills that desire also. Therefore, one's position is determined by one's desire. The Lord is not responsible for the higher or lower grades of our existence. This is further explained quite definitely in the Bhagavad Gita 9:25 by the Lord himself. Yanti deva vrata devan pitram yanti pitra vrataha bhutani yanti bhuteja yanti mabhyagno pimam. Some people want to be promoted to the heavenly planets, some want to be promoted to Pitraloka, and some want to remain on earth. But if one is interested in returning home back to Godhead, he can be promoted there also. According to the demigods of a particular devotee, according to the demands of a particular devotee, he receives a result by the grace of the Lord. The Lord does not discriminate, thinking, here is a person favorable to me, and here is a person who is not favorable. Unquote. Rather, he fulfills the desires of everyone. Therefore, the Shastras enjoin akama sarva kamava moksha kama udharadi tvirena bhakti yogena yajate purusam param. Whether one is without desire, the condition of the devotees, or is desirous of all fruitive results, or is after liberation, one should with all efforts try to worship the Supreme Person of Godhead for complete perfection, culminating in Krishna consciousness. Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam 2.3.10. According to one's position, whether it's a devotee, a karmi, or a jnani, whatever one wants, one can get if one fully engages in the service of the Lord. So I'll read it again one more time. Translation. Unlike an ordinary living entity, my Lord, you do not discriminate between friends and enemies, the favorable and the unfavorable, because for you, there's no conception of higher and lower. Nonetheless, you offer your benedictions according to the level of one's service, exactly as a desire tree delivers fruits according to one's desires and makes no distinction between the lower and the higher. Jai. Om Jnanatimirandasya Granjana Salakya Chakshum. So thank you for being here and attending and hearing Srila Prabhupada's amazing verse. Like every verse, it's always so packed with something. I mean, I would use that phrase of domino. You can push whatever domino you want, it'll go off in so many ways. That Prabhupada has just built such an amazing house for all of us to live in, Now we just have we just have to cooperate. But thank you for being here. I'd like to offer my Inspiring humble obeisances to my divine spiritual master, Srila Satsrup Das Goswami, as he guides me towards Srila Prabhupada's existence and knowing and knowledge. And in my heart, I offer to Srila Prabhupada and the devotees. And I apologize for any offenses I may have committed, which I commit all the time, which reminds me of that really amazing, in the Pujari room, I read this, every time I do puja. It's so nice. I'm just going to read it really quick. Where are you? It's so nice. There it is. I love that. Never have a chance, if you haven't seen it, you can pop your head in the door. It's on the wall right there to the right. Whatever inauspicious things I have done out of ignorance or unknowingly, please forgive that and accept me as your insignificant servant. Let my normal condition be service. Let my movement be holy pilgrimage. Let my thoughts be remembrance of you. Let my words be glorification of you. O Vishnu, and I add Krishna. Let my activities with my whole mind, body, and soul be engaged in you. And that is such a powerful paragraph right there. So I just thought I would read that really quick because it's just so nice. So when I'm going to, on this purport, it's just so packed with so you could unpack every sentence has something major. I mean, right off the bat in the purport, so it probably talks about 411. As one surrenders to me, Sarvam Dharma Pachadam. And that's a great verse. It's one I always try to meditate upon, keep my mind engaged. But I just keep reading more and more in here. It just gets deeper and deeper about the relationships. He's doesn't favor or not favor, Vishnu Paramatma in the heart. He just is always guiding us if we want to be guided, of course. And it's just such a powerful, this purport is just amazing. Like Prabhupada talks about right here in 925 about how you want to be promoted to heavenly planets, and some want to go to Pitraloka and some want to remain on earth, and what fools we are. But, I think the path, the Dhamma I'm going to push here is all these interactions and relationships, everything is governed by the three modes of material nature. And basically, I know it combines to a basic of 81 mixed, a little bit of goodness, a lot of passion, a lot of ignorance. I mean, it's just the different ratios. That's just the beginning, but everything is governed. I mean, my exchanges with devotees is all governed. What do I do? What do I say? What do I think? And everything is governed. I mean, it's just so amazing to see that, that I had some homework. I'm going to mention to you, Tarka Prabhu, if you would guide me and educate me how to find like culminations of what Prabhupada said, Srila Prabhupada said in the Veda base. Like, I'd like to know how many times Prabhupada mentioned the three modes of material nature. It's got to be way up there, because he emphasized all the time that we're so governed by these three modes, and we just have to pick and choose what is our mode, how do we relate to each other in our conversations and our actions and our activities and our thoughts, our words, everything. And by studying these three modes, the mode of goodness especially, we can come to understand why as devotees we have challenges that, I think I brought it before about like the Vaishnavi woman's guru thing, and all these devotees had so many different comments over the board, and it really comes down to how we filter our reality and perceive it, even scripturally. Some people are dead set on that with the Vaishnavi thing that women should not, and some dead set and have proven that they should. And I was just reading that in Lord Nityananda's line, his branch. His wife, Jahnavi had 13 uh, Diksha gurus, and out of 13, 5 of them were women. I mean, and so Krishna is so kind; he allows all of us to really completely believe in what we believe in, whether it's false or true or not. Like Hitler, he gave him the power of the black yogi. He was a black yogi. He was a yogi of the dark, and his powers are misused, obviously. But we have that reminds me of 721. It's my favorite little verse, that yo yo yum yum tam num bhaktam. It's like Krishna will give us. You want to worship demigods? Here you go. You want to worship nothing and be in this blank haze of you know, impartial Paramatma realization of no no relationship whatsoever with Krishna, and he'll allow that to happen with the great yogis. So as we wander down this domino, um, we're literally wandering. We're all wandering on this planet looking. We're all looking for love. We just don't know it. As we know, we read it all the time. And Prabhupada said here's something really nice. Brought to note again about where did he say that? He said that everyone is a devotee. Um, yeah, every living being is an eternal servant of Krishna. Every living being, which is true. That's how we need to see things. It's true. I mean, we know ultimately that all the souls that are here, uh, we're actually manifested to come here to serve Radharani, so we can all serve Krishna in what loving capacity. She wants to overwhelm Krishna with love. So she needs some help from us, from all of us, even unawakened devotees. So they're either awakened devotees or unawakened or in the process in the middle. It's kind of interesting like that one. So like on this wandering, we're all wandering. Prabhupada says hither and thither, we're just wandering from planetary dimensions and our choices and good or bad, whatever that is. And I've been reading a lot about Lord Nityananda, when he was 12 till 35, in his human like pastimes, he wandered looking for his brother, as we know. And it's such a beautiful pastime. I listen to this and I read about it like almost every day. It's such a nice meditation how he was just incessantly wanting to reconnect with his brother until he was 35. And then when Lord Chaitanya appeared, that's when, all those stories culminate. It's really interesting. I've been trying to do some research on it, and Tarka, perhaps you could help me on this later on. I was looking up the Renaissance period. The Renaissance started, if I remember incorrectly, it's probably about 1537, 1527. It was right during, and it's very coincidental. This is my, what's that word? Hermetic um, belief. Not a belief, but it looks like if you have a calm pond and you throw a rock in that pond, the ripple effect. So Lord Chaitanya's appearance, and before Lord Nityananda's appearance, with Lord Nityananda's appearance, setting up the whole pastimes, all those pastimes, it's like Lord Nityananda is throwing a little pebble in the pool and it ripples. As it ripples into the shores of India, from the shores of India, it obviously covered the whole planet, like in the Padma Purana, not a every vibration circles the globe 7 times and utters from your lips, right? So we know when Lord Nityananda came, that ripple affected the entire planet. And it's right when the Renaissance period hit. It's right when it started, and when Lord Chaitanya came, that was right in the middle. It's very interesting. I wonder if devotees have ever done any analogy or should have probably ever commented on the Renaissance period, because that's when things changed, the arts, everything, like the mode of goodness. What was there a little mode of goodness there was of the 81 modes that influenced, somehow a little mode of goodness eked to the shore there that affected, the consciousness of Europe and that particular area. So I'm just kind of interested on that one. I think we have another, so-called wandering situation with Yeshua, Jesus. There's some really amazing pastimes. Maybe one day I'll share with you. It's called the Cup. It's really nice. But the last years of Jesus, 12 years to 32 years, right? He just roamed and he didn't just stay put and become a carpenter and tinker around and build boxes and birdhouses in his village. So he's wandering. So we know that there's these 3 types of modes of religions. Oh, it's okay. Thank you. Um, and I personally have, I don't like to use the word realization, because realization actually means something that is beyond inspiration, where a realization will come into your heart, an actual realization, and will change your heart. So it's more like inspirations will come. Sometimes we use that word interchangeably, but inspirations can come and they can go, but they can make life affirming changes. And in my particular situation, it's, there's the religions and spiritual paths and religions and the mode of ignorance, passion, and goodness. And I have firsthand, I can actually say realization on this one. In religion, the mode of ignorance, I was deeply, deeply, deeply involved with the Native American path. I was involved with Archie Fire Lame Deer, which anybody has ever read or studied in the Native American. Archie Fire Lame Deer's dad was Lame Deer, who had this book that came out called Lame Deer Speaks. And it's a Lakota path. It's the Sioux path. The Sioux path is they're warriors, pretty intense. So I was being trained to Vision Quest. What was the first? You do their temple is their sweat lodge, an Ipi. You have to go on your knees. The door, if anybody's ever been to a sweat lodge, the door is about 2 feet high. It's kind of got this round aspect to it. And you have to go in on your hands and knees. That's the purpose of that. You have to bend down. You have to bend low, like Lord Jesus says. The gate is wide, but the door is very narrow to make it through. The spiritual. So you have to humble yourself, and you go in and you sweat, and it gets pretty intense in there. Really intense. Depends on the fire keeper, how many rocks he brings in, and who the sweat lodge leader is, and all that. So I was being trained for that, and eventually I was going to be going up on the mountain for 4 days and 4 nights. You do nirjal without food and water, and it's quite intense. I was getting right to that point. Then once you have your first experience on the mountain, your vision quest, then you get training for going to the Rosebud Reservation, which is in South Dakota. Sure, thank you. And Rosebud, they have vision quests everywhere. And then within the Vision Quest, they have the Sundance, and it's the Viva Sun. It's really intense because the Lakota, they fast no food and water for 4 days, 4 nights, and it's a huge arbor they make out of pine tree branches, and in the middle is a pole, and that's the mother. The pole is it looks like a telephone pole, but it's a pine tree pole, and the warriors that are going to dance um, have a leather straps tied to the pole, and they dig two very deep wounds into their chest, and they put eagle claws in there, and they tie these eagle claws to the tethers, and they're in there, and it's a lot of blood. And the wives, they're not to do that in this age. Prior age, they would also dance like that. Um, in this age, they take flesh offerings. Thank you. Flesh offerings, they take, while their man is up there doing his thing, they take these giant chunks out of their arm, and it's extreme. They realize the whole point is to realize you're not the body, and to have your prayers be pure when you release them through this austerity, intense austerity. And what's the results? I mean, you have a relationship with Wakantanka. Wakantanka is the creator. It's the formless spirit creator. It's mode of ignorance. It's quite unfortunate, but there's some really sweet people that eventually they want to come further. They want to get into the mode of passion, and a lot of the leaders now are Christian, so they have Christian sweat lodges now. It'll be traditional, um, but it's still Christian. Lord Jesus, they're really into Lord Jesus, not so much Christianity, churchianity, but Christ's teachings, and it's nice. They're rising further up. And the interesting thing is, I lived on the Hopi Res, which is bordered by the Dene Res. Dene's Navajo, means head pounder. The Hopi have a book called, if anybody ever read it, uh, the Book of the Hopi. And the Book of the Hopi is it's about the three mesas in Arizona. It's near Tuba City, and the three mesas stick up. They're tables. Mesa means table in Spanish. It's three tables, and those three mesas, the Hopi are the priests. They're considered the priests, and they left according to their scripture, their stories. They left India. Four groups left, and you remember in the Bhagavatam it talks about there's nations that left India and traveled, and it coincides with the four nations that in the Hopi prophecy that they left. And one group, there was supposed to be a race who could finish all four migrations in all directions and return back. And one group went up and they got stuck up in Alaska, and one group went down in South America, stayed down. The other group went out towards Marquesas Islands and Hawaii, and the other group is the Tibetan Buddhist did their thing there, and this is what the Hopi say. And the Hopi is interesting; it means peace, where Navajo means head pounder. Dene means head pounder. So the arrangement was the three priests, the three maces of Hopi. They're the priests and they're protected by the warriors, the Navajos. It's a 1,000,000 acre plus reservation now, but they protect the three maces, which are the priests. It's interesting how even you could see the Vedic, and there's a rock. Come to think of it, there's a rock called Inscription Rock on the Hopi Res, which is surrounded by the Dene Res and Navajo Res. That rock has a picture, has the swastika on there, the auspicious swastika. That rock has been there, they say it was a little over 2,000 years ago. That's when that migration happened. And they have a gourd of ashes drawn on there, which they say it's nuclear. It's very interesting how they say that, there'll be a different tribe will come of different colors. They call them the Rainbow Brothers. That's us. And so it's really interesting. So as people start getting out of those different stories, that storyline of the different traditions, they rise up. I've got another interesting story with, I spent 10 years in Hawaii and they have a lot of ancestors, a lot of descendants. And I started doing some research and, in the Vedic cosmography, you know, the difference between ancestors and um, your generations of what's the term I'm thinking of? I wrote it down here. Oh, descendants. Descendants are a gene pool, basically. We have many descendants, but out of somewhere, one of those descendants, one of those will crawl up in the mode of goodness, probably mixed with passion, and inquire about the truth. And though when that descendant does that, they become ancestors. That's why we offer in all the traditions of the world, Native American included, 'cause it originally had its roots from India, is that you offer foodstuffs and water to the ancestors. Those ancestors have taken birth, according to the Hopi prophecy, in the happy hunting grounds, which is a heavenly planet, and they're guiding us. So they're guiding us as well. If we just, we know we have Srila Prabhupada to guide us in the scriptures and, in the mode, the transcendental literature and transcendental path. But it's interesting that whole ancestor descendant thing, But it's an interesting story in Hawaii. Hawaiians originally came from Marquesas Islands about 2,100 years ago, and they left in the mode of kind of in the mode of goodness. They were 95% vegetarian, and they did have some pigs and some dogs that they brought in cages, and they sailed over. And they were lucky to find Hawaii. If they missed Big Island, they would have hit Alaska, and they would have been finished because that's in their 2,200 miles from Big Island. So they traveled about 2,500 miles from Marquesas Islands, and uh, like they have a word there called kula. Kula. It means school. It's like, well, we know Marquesas Islands. We know that whole area was once part of Barsha, the direct Maharaj Pariksit and all the Vedic influence. And we still have Bali down there and so many, Hindu sects down there. And, so you can see its influence down there too. But, this descendants, like my personal, I'm from a caste Brahmin Christian lineage. I lost track in 95, and I have 35. At the time, I had 35 pastors and ministers in my family. It goes back like genealogically, it goes back like 600 years back to England and further. But the change stopped there. But even have Billy Graham, if anybody's ever heard of Billy Graham, he was brought out of college by my grandfather on my dad's side, who was a pastor and saw this kid at this campus preaching, and he invited him to his church. His name was Billy, and that's how it started. The Campus Crusade for Christ was with my grandfather and Bill Bright and Billy Graham. So it's interesting how our ancestors and all the aspects that come into it. And then I was thinking about Bob was talking about different planetary systems and what do you want, which kind of desires, and I don't, sometimes devotees maybe we may not think about it, but like Krishna, when Krishna is the supreme everything, he's also the topmost environmentalist. Like I know at least 3 chapters, and there's a little bit of the song that he sings, and he's trying to attract everybody through the Bhagavad Gita, the Song of God. That's why the whole conversation is going on. So everybody on the planet can hear his song, whether it's through the yoga song or the, he describes, what mountains and, what bodies of water he is, and, you know, eagles, he's Garuda. I mean, so he's trying to set us up so we can somehow have a lifestyle where we cannot help but think of Krishna, some aspect or another, even if it's beginning in a mode of ignorance, rising up to, that preliminary, I think with Prabhupada says here, everyone's following, um, we're all, every living being is an eternal servant of Krishna. And so he's so kind in the Gita, he's trying to attract everybody by the Bhagavad Gita. And like, even if like I'm a water guy, I'm always in surfing or body surfing, I'm always swimming in the water. And Krishna's so kind, he wants us to think about him and everything. So even when I'm being killed by a shark, in Hawaii, I'm in the water and I'm being eaten alive, I can technically, according to the Gita, I can think of Krishna because he says the fish is on the shark. So it's nice how Krishna's made this song available to everyone if we just want to listen to it. And there's even a little hint once when Krishna talks about the suspension of the ingoing and the outgoing, and focus on the third eye, that breathing. I call it the Gita breath. If you ever want to experience something very unique that is very beneficial for our Krishna consciousness and our overall well-being, and find that balance. About Krishna said in the Gita, don't eat too much, don't eat too little, don't sleep too much, don't sleep too little. Recreation's more, balance. Everything's in balance. The Gita breath is really balancing, and be happy to, share it with anybody if you want it. It's pretty simple. I mean, you can do it anywhere. Don't do it while you're driving though, because you get very peaceful and you might just kind of float through one of the intersections and stop sign or a light, or hit one of those Amish carriages because you're kind of in a very peaceful area in your life. But so Prabhupada was, you know, with this Gita, as we know, we study the Gita. The culmination of the Gita is the Srimad Bhagavatam, and the culmination of the Srimad Bhagavatam is the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And for me, the culmination of the studies of the CC is that comes down to Shikshastakam. That's just so powerful. Those series of sharings are so powerful for me, and for all devotees to aspire for. Say Prabhupada, he built this amazing foundation, this house where we could all live in. I call it the cup. Like you go to a math, I've heard it. They call it mat. Mat means clay pot. Probably different definitions too, but Prabhupada's given us this transcendental pot with the literature as a foundation, and the walls are the lit, everything. He's given us everything. So what do we put in that cup? On the altar here, if I put up an empty bowl, it's a cup, and I don't put anything in it, it's not what use is that? So how we exchange with Krishna and each other is governed by those three modes too, and we have to crawl up to the mode of goodness somehow or other by our Guru's grace and mercy, cause us mercy. It can come, and which reminds me, just everyone to think about this. I talk to my wife about this a lot too. Is that first introduction to Krishna consciousness? What happened? Every one of us, something happened, some major. It could have been, the seed got planted and it didn't. It was a certain time where it just popped, and that's when a realization, not inspiration, but a realization happened that, oh my gosh, I got it. I have no choice but to step into this circle, into this door. For me, it was my partner guru. She gave me a cassette of the Radhakrishna Temple. I was a taxi cab driver in Santa Barbara, California, and I played that tape over and over. My shifts were like 12 to 14 hours, which is illegal nowadays, but back in 78, 79, 80, it wasn't. And I just flipped that tape over and 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 over. And I mean, I played that the whole time. And every time I heard each song, I just would get goosebumps. And I just said, I remember times where I was so high, so blissed out, I would scream at the top of my lungs in my cab. And of course, the windows were rolled up because I didn't want to freak anybody out. But I couldn't contain what I was experiencing. I know we've all had that. We've all had that. And unfortunately, it probably kind of wanes, but sometimes it'll come back, that wave of inspiration will come back based off that early revelation. But some people didn't start that way. Maybe, you know, I remember she invited me. She goes, "Hey, you know, I was really into Native American, and her husband was the direct apprentice for Archie Fire Lame Deer in the Sweats. And she used to tell me, you don't need to do all this nonsense, you know, just piercing and bloodletting and, these intense austerities, for what? She goes, just chant Hare Krishna. I used to mock her, oh, yeah, chant Hare Krishna. I'd make fun of her. So she said, hey, there's a big party I want to invite you to. You got to go to it. I said, oh, okay. So we went down to it, and it was Venice Beach Rath Yatra. Um, that was just 86 July. And that just blew my doors open. And they had a stage, a small stage at the time. I don't know if they have it anymore. The small stage had it was just for the Gurukuli kids. So there was like this little boy, kind of chubby little boy. His name's and he chanted for like an hour. And oh my God, I couldn't believe it. And the way he was singing, and I never experienced anything like it. And it was Gorvani. And then there was like so many Mandali was there, and oh gosh, all the Gurukulis that are now like 40, 45 years old with kids, they were there and they took over the stage. I danced for 5 hours, 6 hours. I could not stop. I could not contain myself. I remember going in the water underneath because it's on the beach. I went underwater and I was so blissed out. I screamed in ecstasy underwater so I wouldn't freak people out because the beach is packed. There's a lot of people there on the beach. And I just screamed underwater. I'm sure the fish, kind of had a hard time on that one, but it was cool. So yeah, so think about what was that moment that just blew you open where you just like, I have no choice, That's coming from Krishna in the heart by, Srila Prabhupada's complete mercy with this cup that he's given us, How do we fill that cup, The other day I was down at the river, go down there a lot. I know some people call it the Yamuna River. To me, it's the Ganga because I absorb my pastimes for some reason. Because I'm such a rascal. I love Gauranitai and Lord Nityananda and the Dadhar and Shivasati Lord, so it's the Ganga River to me. I'm sitting there and during my japa, and this red-breasted merganser comes by. You probably seen him, got a little red uh, mohawk in the back, and she's got like 8 babies, and 2 of them are on her back. The other ones they're swimming upstream, and they're just struggling like anything. They have no wings, these little stubs, the undeveloped wings, and they're just kicking like anything swimming up. And the 2 smart ones are jumped on Mama's back. So that's Guru, is our Guru. And his Mother's Day was interesting too, with having our moms, they brought us in and they've been our nurturing factors here. But this red-breasted merganser, you know, she's taught me to remind me about Guru's mercy and taking shelter, and we need Guru and we need each other because that shelter probably created is very important, very important. I remember the other thing too, it just came to me, and I'll stop here because questions or comments or especially corrections and any influx of thoughts is, I don't know if it happened to anybody else. I'd love to hear if it did. When you first got that Krishna conscious taste and prasadam was the first thing you ever came into your life like that. Prasadam, it's like mercy. And you experienced like this ecstasy of a Sunday feast. Didn't you just want to, I mean, for me, and I think my wife did too, I went into that Trader Joe's that's right across the street in Culver City, and I offered everything there in my mind, isn't it? You take a little bell. I even had a bell. It was so funny. I had a little bell. I'm like, there's the vegetables, the artichokes, there's the peanut butter, the whole section. I'm walking up and down the section, offering because I want everyone to experience that, you know, that love. Everybody has to get it because that's what we're here for. That's what Gita Nagari is for. Is to give this love out through our farming, through example, through kirtan, through prasadam distribution, everything. This farm is nothing if we don't do those things, and our lives are nothing, and we're doing it here, And it's like the Sunday feast last night was ecstatic. It's so nice to be on an altar and look out and see all these devotees coming together and chanting and glorifying, you know, our dear lordships, our Lord and Lady, and being with together. That's what it's all about. That's that huge step in our Krishna conscious evolution. So I think, I was going to talk about, okay, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. So how can we improve our relationship with the holy names, Harinam Prabhu and the devotees and Srila Prabhupada? And it's like, and we were running we did it in Tallahassee Krishna Temple, and we did it in Boulder Krishna Temple. We also did it in ISKCON Arcata, which is up in Northern California, up in the Redwoods. We call it the hot seat. And if you ever want to see where your japa is really at, not to where you think it's at, suggest sitting down, probably with nobody else. You can. We used to do it. We just pass the mic. At the time we had phones or something. We had a recorder, and we chant a round of japa. Like one person would chant with a microphone right by their face, and they chant japa and try not to realize they're being recorded, and they just chant. And then we'd play all that during prasadam time, breakfast in the morning. And it was the most comical thing. People would just be dying laughing because we may think we're chanting nicely. But I'll tell you, my wife is such a good Shiksha guru for me. She'll say, sometimes if my mind's wandering, which it wanders most all the time, I'll do like 3 Rams, and I've heard devotees here, oh my gosh, I don't say anything, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Ram. And the faster you go, you think, oh, wait. You would not talk to Krishna so fast like that. Why not absorb into the holy names, the holy nectar? So play the hot seat if you want to hear what your japa is really like versus what your mind is thinking. Because everybody pretty much has something not Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It's okay to take your time. It's sweet. It's the nectar of Krishna's lotus lips. He's dancing on our tongue. The hot seat's great. And then the other thing I get a lot of inspiration from His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj about his inventory. Like, check every day our inventory. How was our conversation? How was my conversation with my wife? How was my conversation with Dhruva Puji? How was my conversation with the cows? How am my conversation with anybody? Are they in the mode of goodness, passion, or ignorance? Are they benefiting us? Are they snipping my creeper? Because Krishna, the devotees may not take offense, but and we know Paramatma, Vishnu in the heart's not taking offense, but still my creeper's getting snipped. It doesn't, you don't get credit, you don't get snipped for, thoughts as we know in this age, but thinking leads to willing, which meets to feeling. So the inventory is a good thing to check every day, and um, being I was in the Native American tradition, I live in Hawaii. They have this Pele as a goddess of volcano. She's a volcano goddess. And a really nice exercise is I highly recommend it. And it's been really powerful exercise for many devotees. If we have something, a deep issue, pray like anything, which we know. We hear that standard, pray to the deities, pray to Prabhupada. He said, visually, there's a visual experience that is really, it works, is you take your subtle body, like you're on this volcano, the lip of this volcano, and there's lava down below, and you take your subtle body and you see it, you envision this body, it's you, and you put all your junk in that body, everything, all the things that you don't want, the Shikshastakam prayers are coming alive, your offenses, everything that you don't want, attractions and this and that, your difficulties, your challenges, your narcissism, put it in a subtle body and you make it an offering to the fire and you throw it into the fire. As it falls, it burns up, like a ghee explosion. And you do that a couple of times, 3, 4, 5, 20 times a day, whatever is really deep in your chitta, it'll burn up. It'll burn up, it'll explode, and you can be free of these things. And then your job is better. Everything's better. Your relationships are better. Throw it in a fire. Prabhupada says the same thing about a dog on a leash. Pull it back. So pull it back 100 times a day. Eventually, that mind will be controlled. So I'm going to stop there. Any comments, corrections, sharings? Love to hear what people have to say. Love to hear your initial inspiration that just tipped your boat to come to Srila Prabhupada and jump on. Anybody out there? Or Janeshree? Okay. Anybody online? Seriously, it's quite quiet. You have something? That's not good. That means nobody got inspired. If nobody comments. Just fine. As long as oh, okay. Now they probably can't hear you. Can anybody hear Janeshri? I think this microphone setup is very strange. You almost want to talk into both of them, I think, because they can't hear you. Okay.
A few things came to mind. I remember, when I was a aspiring bhaktin, and I think I had met Guru Maharaj at that point. Um, um, this was not my first interaction with devotees, but that was back in Australia, Rath Yatra on the beach, small Rath Yatra. It was very ecstatic. And prasadam, I remember I got addicted to halava, thinking, wow, I'm not the body, I can eat as much as I want. And learned to make it. And, I just got addicted to it. Yeah, but yeah, one thing that I remember, I was kind of questioning, Krishna, you know, are you actually real? Or is it just some concept? Because I came from I guess, an impersonal background, being raised as a Catholic. I mean, God is a pretty vague concept for most Catholics, most Christians as well. So, but I always thought, well, we pray to our Lord in heaven, hallowed be thy name. But who is God? If he's a person, to me, it felt like he must be a person, but, you know, I'd like to know more about him. So I was questioning one evening. I was, my son was a newborn baby. My daughter was 2.5 years old or something, and I was soaking in a bath, and I had a little altar, pictures of Panchatattva and Radha Krishna, I guess Prabhupada, and I had a little candle burning on the altar, and soaking in the bath, relaxing. My son was asleep. Both kids were asleep, and um, I was thinking, well, Krishna, if you're real, oh, I want to see a sign. You got to show me that you're real. And all of a sudden, my fire alarm went off, and that little candle on my altar started burning really hard. And I jumped out of the bath, and I was calling out Krishna. So, you know, I didn't challenge Krishna after that. I was like, okay, thank you. I believe you. You're real. You're in my heart. You're everywhere. So that to me was like, yeah, very memorable, and very see how the Lord reciprocates, even as a rascal myself, challenging Krishna like that. But it was, very memorable, very sweet. Very well.
Thank you.
So,
We can turn that quick. Anybody else out there? Nobody else? Well, if you want to hear another ghost story. Hawaiian, they murdered each other, they killed each other constantly. They're all related, each island. They're all descendants of each other, but they were brutal to each other. The first time I went to Maui, my middle bottom, camping journey for 9 days, and we camped. We made it to this. It's called Wainapa Napa. Anybody ever been to Maui or Napa Napa? It's Black Sand Beach, and we got there at night. It's a campground there on the beach too. It's all lava flow extensions like fingers of lava. It's really beautiful. It's aesthetically right. So anyway, we set up a tent at night, and I woke at about 3 in the morning. I woke up from a dream, and I had this dream. There was a warrior. Half of the face was tattooed like the Maoris, and the other was plain. And he was on my chest, and he was trying to suck my soul, my breath out. And I woke up, and in my sleep, I said, and it exploded, and he was gone. And when I popped up like that, my daughter woke up, and and my heart was pounding. Oh my goodness, my Christian, thank you so much. And then she looked kind of white and pink, like scared. And I told her what happened. She goes, Dad, right when you woke me up, I had a dream that there was a warrior with half a face tattooed on top of my chest doing something with my breathing. I was like, wow. So in the morning time, we're like, I'm going to go back to sleep. But So the morning time turns out we're about 25 feet from a living ancestral burial ground. There's a family that was part of the battle like 1,500 years earlier, and they're still buried there as the ancestors, the living entity, the living descendants die. They bury them there. There was one with a mound, so they don't cremate. They just bury the body. So there's a mound. We're like 20 feet from them. So that was we had so many other ghost experiences there, quite a few. How about you, Prabhu? What did that first moment in Krishna consciousness that just exploded in your heart and you knew it had to be this path, we had no choice? Do you remember? There's not that one definitive moment when you're just like, gosh, it's like the clouds opened up and it just, boom, you knew that this was it. Nothing more. Anybody else out there? We've got like 4 minutes, 3 minutes. Anybody wants to share?
Prabhu, you need to make sure that mic is close to you.
I see.
I see your mouth moving, but I can't hear you.
Oh man, this mic, is that better?
Yes, yep. That's
It's
the Zoom
interesting.
mic. Yep.
Yeah, it doesn't really work so well, huh? I have to actually hold it. Yeah, so we just were relating a couple of mode of ignorance ghost stories from Hawaii. And I was just saying, does anybody want? We have a few minutes. Does anybody want to add any of their aha moments in their beginning Krishna consciousness that took them over the edge, that they knew that they had to step into this Krishna conscious path with no, they didn't have a choice. And I just was wondering if anybody else had something to share really quick.
I have stories, but we don't have time for my stories.
I'd love to hear it. Well, since we're neighbors, we can
You
meet
got
in
a
the
hand
bathroom.
up. Jambavati's got her hand up.
Acha. Okay, how does this work? Do I hit the hand?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for class and for sharing your amazing experiences with the native people of this land. It's
Hmm.
quite interesting. You mentioned something that I think correlates to what's also in our scripture. Um, you mentioned that when you go back so many generations in your family, that I think this was maybe a belief of the Indians that you were with, the Native Americans, that if there's one person who seeks the truth, then that influences other generations or other ancestors.
Hmm.
Is that what you said? Because I was thinking
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
okay, because I was
yeah.
thinking that in our path, of course, if there is serious, devoted, convicted devotee in a family, um, that influence goes back or is good for 100 generations. You know,
Hmm.
so I was just thinking about that
No, it's
correlation. Yeah. So I thank you for sharing. I have other
that's really nice.
questions, but I'll ask you
Oh,
when
you're
I
so
see
welcome.
you.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be nice. Yeah, isn't it? Also, I was reading where you hear different um, durations, but 12 generations before and 12 generations ahead as well. We read that all the time. So we have to make sure
Yeah.
that if we come back, we want to be ancestors. Not just a descendant. If we come back, Jai,
Right.
we have deities are making their appearance here. Hare Krishna. Thank you, everyone. Haribol. Jai. Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Rama Jaya Radha Jaya Radha Damodara Radha Radha Jaya Radha I am now vision God and shopping God. I Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhupada
So we're you never complain. You never complain, no? You know, you just like puts up with this, you know. Pretty